The bedroom shimmered faintly, a warm amber glow spilling from the bedside lamp, its light stretching across the hardwood floor like a quiet invitation. Outside, the October evening pressed against the glass, crisp and cool, the kind of night that wrapped the world in stillness, sharpening every sound, every breath. Mia stood alone, or thought she did, her bare feet sinking into the rug's soft pile, the air heavy with the scent of autumn leaves and something unspoken. At 28, she carried a quiet confidence, a woman who'd mapped her own edges until moments like this blurred them. The family home, now shared with Liam after years of tangled roots, felt alive tonight, its silence humming with a current she couldn't place. She'd slipped into the nurse costume on a lark, a playful choice for tomorrow's party. The fabric hugged her frame, a flimsy thing she'd laughed at when it arrived, its hem grazing her legs, the top unbuttoned just enough to feel daring. She'd been fussing with it in the mirror, tugging at the collar, when the door sighed open behind her. Her breath hitched, a sharp little gasp, as Liam stepped into the room. He stopped there, a shadow against the hallway's dimness, his broad frame cutting through the quiet. The lamp's light traced the line of his jaw, rough with faint stubble, and for a moment she couldn't move. Her hands hovered over the costume, fingers unsteady as they clutched the edges, too late to pull it closed entirely. She was half-dressed, the shirt parted to reveal the curve of her collarbone, the skirt sitting high on her legs, her skin catching the glow. His eyes, hazel, familiar, yet somehow new, swept over her, slow and steady, resting where the light met her form. The air grew dense, pressing against her chest, and she felt his gaze like a whisper, stirring the stillness she'd clung to. Her thoughts spun, a tangle of shame and a heat she tried to push down. Stepsis. It's not Halloween, she pictured him saying, that old teasing lilt in his voice from years ago, before time had stretched their bond into something taut and undefined. But he said nothing, didn't move, and that silence let her mind run loose. She should have turned away, made a joke, waved him out with a laugh. Instead, she stood there, caught in the weight of his presence, her pulse a steady drumbeat in her ears. Her hand lifted, an instinct to shield herself, but it faltered. Her fingers brushed his chest instead, grazing the warm cotton of his shirt, the solidness beneath it sending a jolt through her. It was quick, a fleeting touch, but it lingered in her skin, a spark that flickered down her arm, settling somewhere deep. She pulled back, pressing her hand to her own chest, but the sensation stayed, a quiet hum she couldn't shake. Her breath trembled, betraying her, and she wondered if he noticed. He didn't step back, didn't break the moment. His scent curled toward her, wood smoke and cedar, sharp and grounding, a trace of the world beyond these walls. It seeped into her senses, pulling her awareness to the rise of his chest, the subtle shift as he exhaled. Her skin warmed, a flush climbing her neck, and she hated how her body answered him, how every inch of him seemed to fill the room. She tried to focus, to anchor herself, but the space between them felt charged, alive with something she couldn't name. The wrongness of it washed over her, a cold wave against the heat. Liam, her stepbrother, the kid who'd once raced her to the mailbox, who'd groaned at her teenage playlists, now this man standing too close. They weren't tied by blood, but the years had knit them into something safe, something she shouldn't question. Yet here she was, her mind whispering things it shouldn't, her body leaning into a pull she didn't understand. Guilt gnawed at her, sharp and insistent, but it only sharpened the ache, made the air thicker, the moment heavier. His gaze lifted, meeting hers, and for a heartbeat she saw a flicker, something unguarded, a mirror to the storm inside her. Not just surprise at her costume, but a shadow of something deeper, gone as fast as it appeared. It left her unsteady, her lips parting on a shaky breath she hoped he didn't hear. The room seemed to close in, the walls bending under the weight of their silence, the lamp's glow flickering like it knew what she wouldn't say. She wanted to speak, to shatter it. Get out, or you didn't knock. But the words lodged in her throat, heavy and useless. Her hand lingered near her chest, the costume forgotten, her skin alive under his stare. The shadows stretched, playing across his face, and she imagined stepping forward, letting her fingers rest where they'd brushed him. The thought sent a shiver through her, a mix of dread and want that held her still. The air hung thick, woven with autumn quiet, and his presence, a haze of longing she couldn't outrun. She was trapped, between who she'd been and who she was now, between the lines she'd drawn and the ones blurring beneath her feet. And Liam, standing there, watching her, was the spark she couldn't look away from. The night thickened, curling into itself like a shadow too deep to unravel. Mia's room, once a haven of soft edges and familiar quiet, felt different now, its stillness alive with a restless hum. The bedside lamp spilled a faint glow, shadows stretching thin and wavering across the walls, shifting with every breath. The air brushed cool against her skin, still exposed beneath the loose nurse costume, but it carried his warmth too, his nearness seeping into the space until it pressed against her senses. Liam stood closer now, the distance between them dissolving as the hours slipped away, the world beyond the window fading into a murmur of wind and rustling leaves. She lingered by the mirror, the costume's fabric clinging to her hips, its unbuttoned edges teasing the air. He hadn't left, his presence a thread she couldn't sever. Then it happened, a quiet, bold shift that undid her. His hand moved, tentative at first, fingers grazing her waist where the shirt parted. The touch was featherlight, a whisper against her skin, but it sparked through her, igniting the ache she'd tried to silence. Her breath faltered, a soft hitch lost in the hush, and his hand steadied, drawing her nearer with a gentle pull. She stepped forward, drawn in before she could think, until they were close. Too close. His chest a breath away, the warmth of his shirt brushing her bare collarbone. The shadows swayed, wrapping around them, and she felt his breath, quick and warm, ghosting across her cheek. Her hands lifted, hesitant, then rested on his arms, fingers curling into the fabric as if to steady herself. A shiver ran through her, faint but insistent, her body stirring under the weight of his nearness, a pull she couldn't name. Her mind flickered, a last grasp at resistance, swallowed by the tide rising within. This was Liam. Too familiar, too forbidden, the boundary they'd never touched, now fraying beneath them. She should have stepped back, let the guilt anchor her, but his hand slid to her lower back, pressing her gently closer, and the shoulds dissolved into something softer, something she couldn't fight. Her senses sharpened. The cedar bite of his scent, rich and grounding, the subtle roughness of his palm through the thin costume, the quiet rhythm of his breath matching hers. It overwhelmed her, a current she couldn't outrun. The room seemed to blur, the bed a dark shape in her peripheral vision, its quilted surface a silent witness. They moved together, a slow drift guided by his hands, her steps unsteady but willing. She sank onto the edge, the mattress dipping softly, and he followed, kneeling close, the lamp's light catching the edge of his jaw. His eyes met hers, dark and open, and she saw it, a mirror to the storm inside her, a silent answer to the question neither asked. Her hands traced up, resting on his shoulders, drawing him nearer until their breaths tangled, the space between them a fragile thread. The moment unfurled, deliberate and quiet, a weave of sensation she couldn't escape. His warmth enveloped her, the press of his presence, a steady hum against her own. Her skin flushed, a heat climbing her chest, her pulse a wild flutter she couldn't still. His breath brushed her neck, soft and uneven, sending a shiver down her spine that settled deep. Her fingers tightened on his shoulders, holding him there, and the world shrank to this, to the closeness weaving between them, the unspoken rhythm binding their silence. Inside she shifted, the walls she'd clung to, years of rules, of seeing him as safe, fractured, leaving her open, unguarded. This wasn't just a fleeting pull. It was deeper, sinking into her core, a connection she hadn't braced for. The wrongness lingered, a faint echo at the edge of her thoughts, but it didn't pull her back. It sharpened the moment, twisting the guilt into a quiet, fierce longing, tying them together in a way she couldn't untangle. She felt him shift too, a softening, a giving in that echoed her own. The shadows lengthened, the lamp's glow dimming as if turning away, her senses blurred. Caught in the warmth of his breath near her ear, the steady rise of his chest so close to hers, the tremble lingering in her hands. It changed her, this silent collision. Her world tilting, reshaping around what they'd dared. Emotions swirled beneath, heavy and unnamed, a blend of wonder and weight she couldn't sort. She was bare, not just in body, but in spirit, tethered to him in a way that felt fragile, yet real. He moved, his hand finding hers, fingers threading through her own in the quiet. The gesture was small, tender, a lifeline in the haze. She held on, her breath slowing, the weight of their choice settling over her like a second skin. The night stretched on, hushed now, but altered. What they'd crossed wasn't just a boundary. It was a shift, and she felt it in every shadowed corner, every pulse. She was his in that moment, and he was hers, and the truth of it left her both adrift and found.